cost-aware routing just got easier to deploy, which is a huge deal if you're trying to manage your AI inference spend. Plus, we've got a new tool to make Claude Code more trustworthy. We're talking real, practical tools for builders right now. No BS AI briefing brought to you by Proactive AI. Welcome back. I'm your host, Vikas Sharma, and this is where builders get straightforward AI news without the fluff. All right, let's dive into some genuinely useful stuff that landed for us builders this week. We've got two items that could seriously impact your margins and product reliability. First up, we saw the release of a Foreman, a self hosted LLM gateway with cost aware routing. Now, this isn't just another API wrapper, it's a comprehensive tool that dropped on GitHub on July 8th. What happened is that the developers released full documentation and detailed deployment guides for what they call a self-hosted LLM gateway. In plain English, this means you can now run your own layer in front of all your different large language models. Think GPT, Claude, Mistral, and whatever else you're using. The really smart part here is that Foreman enables our cost-aware model routing. So instead of just sending every request to the latest GPT 4.0 or manually trying to figure out if Claude Haiku can do the job, Foreman automatically selects the cheapest model that still meets your performance requirements. It's got full API endpoints, all the configuration files you need, and deployment instructions for both on-premise and self-hosted setups. For builders, the interesting part is the immediate impact on your bottom line. We're all feeling the pressure of AI inference costs, aren't we? This directly addresses that by allowing real cost optimization across multiple models without you getting locked into one vendor's pricing structure. Because you're self-hosting it, you get complete control over your data, your routing logic, and frankly, your destiny. This isn't just a concept. The detailed docs mean you could deploy this in a staging environment this week and start seeing how it helps your margin sensitive products. It's like having a smart financial manager for your LLM calls, constantly looking for the best deal without compromising on the quality you need. How many of you are currently just defaulting to one expensive model because the switching cost feels too high? Foreman changes that equation entirely. Next, we also saw the release of Makoto, an integrity hook for Claude Code. This also hit GitHub on July 8th, and it's a pretty functional and clever piece of tech. What happened here is that Makoto was released as an integrity hook specifically for Claude Code. Now, if you're using Claude for code generation, you know that sometimes LLMs can, well, they can hallucinate in code just like they do in text. They might claim they did something or that the code will behave a certain way, and it doesn't always quite match reality. Makoto works by verifying the generated code's claims against your logged actions and execution history. If Claude Code says, I've implemented this specific function that handles error state X, Makoto will check if the actual execution logs and the resulting actions back that up. If it finds a discrepancy, it blocks those false claims. It also provides documentation and integration examples to make it easy to get started. Why does this matter for builders? Well, it significantly improves the reliability of code generation, especially when you're leaning on LLMs for more critical parts of your stack. Imagine a scenario where a generated piece of code makes a subtle error that isn't immediately obvious, but the LLM confidently claimed it was perfect. Makoto creates an audit trail, a transparent record of what actually ran versus what was claimed, which is invaluable for debugging, quality assurance, and even compliance in certain domains. This is most relevant for teams that are already pushing Claude Code into production workflows where good enough isn't quite good enough and you need that extra layer of trust and verification. It's about reducing the hidden costs of debugging and rework by catching issues earlier. Don't we all wish our code generators were a little more honest sometimes? Now, let's take a bit of a deeper dive into Foreman because I think it's the most important story of this batch for many of you. This tool directly tackles one of the biggest constraints we face when building AI products, cost. So what happened again? Foreman, a self-hosted LLM gateway, was released on GitHub with full documentation. Its core capability is cost-aware routing. This means it intelligently directs your API requests to the cheapest available LLM, whether that's GPT, Claude, or Mistral, provided that model can still meet the performance and quality requirements you set. It's not just about picking the absolute cheapest, it's about picking the cheapest viable model. You get to define what viable means for your specific use case. Why does this matter right now? Well, we've been seeing a clear trend. While model capabilities are soaring, the cost of inference, especially at scale, can quickly erode your margins. If you're running a SaaS product with features powered by LLMs, or if you're an indie hacker trying to bootstrap a project, those API calls add up rapidly. Until now, your options were pretty limited. Either you commit to one model and absorb its costs, or you spend valuable engineering time building complex custom routing logic yourself. This is a huge investment and it diverts resources from building your core product. Foreman fills that gap, providing a ready made open source solution that lets you operationalize cost savings without heavy lifting. It changes the economic equation for AI powered products, making it feasible to use advanced LLMs without breaking the bank. So, who should really care about this? Definitely Byte founders, particularly those running margin sensitive SaaS products. Foreman offers a direct path to optimizing your operational costs, which can be the difference between profitability and just scraping by. For then product managers, this means you can explore using different models for different features based on their specific needs and budget, giving you more flexibility in feature design without being solely tied to the cost of the most powerful LLM. Infra engineers will find this a fantastic reference architecture or even a deployable solution for building resilient, cost optimized AI infrastructure. It gives them control and transparency. And for all you indie hackers out there, this is a godsend. You can run experiments with different models, switch easily, and keep your cloud bills low while you're trying to find product market fit. It means you can punch above your weight, leveraging diverse models without needing an enterprise budget or dedicated DevOps teams. How would I think about this as a builder? I'd see Foreman as your intelligent traffic controller for LLM calls. Imagine you're running a large shipping company. You have different types of cargo. Some need express air delivery, others can go by sea, some by train. You wouldn't send everything by express air, would you? That's too expensive. Foreman acts like the logistics manager who knows the cost and speed of every transport option and picks the best one for each specific package based on your criteria. For your application, it means you can send that complex high stakes customer query to GPT 4.0, but a simple internal knowledge base lookup to a much cheaper Mistral model all through the same unified API endpoint. The opportunity here is to make AI powered features truly sustainable at scale. It gives you the power to arbitrage between model providers, ensuring you're always getting the best value. My no BS take on Foreman is that this isn't hype, it's a genuinely useful, foundational piece of infrastructure. It directly solves a real painful problem for anyone building with LLMs today. Yes, self hosting adds some operational overhead, and as an early stage project, it might have bugs or missing features, but the strategic value of having this level of cost control and vendor independence is immense. This is the kind of tool that separates serious builders from those just playing around. If you want one practical takeaway from today's episode, here it's this: experiment, deploy Foreman in staging, and measure cost savings. This is a tangible step you can take this week to potentially impact your bottom line. Here's how to try it in under 60 minutes. First, clone the Foreman GitHub repository from github.com Foreman AI Foreman. This will give you all the code configuration examples and documentation you need. Second, and follow the deployment guide to get Foreman running in a staging or development environment. The documentation is comprehensive, so you should be able to spin it up fairly quickly using Docker or a similar setup. You don't need to put it into production just yet. The goal is to get it operational for testing. Third, configure Foreman to proxy a small subset of your current LLM traffic from one of your existing applications. Choose a low risk workflow, perhaps one that makes frequent but not mission critical LLM calls. Set a cost threshold or specific performance requirements for a few different models, effectively telling Foreman, for this type of request, I'm happy with model A if it's under X cents, otherwise try model B. Finally, you run that specific workflow for an hour or two and compare the costs of the requests routed through Foreman versus your previous direct to model approach. Look at the logs, analyze which models Foreman chose, and compare the cumulative spend. Why is this specific experiment worth your time right now? because inference costs are only going one way, up as you scale. Getting ahead of this with a tool like Foreman can free up budget to invest in other areas of your product or simply improve your profitability. It gives you immediate visibility and control over a rapidly escalating expense, and frankly, a strategic advantage. It lets you validate a cost saving hypothesis with minimal risk and a clear path to impact. That's it for today's No BS AI briefing. If this helped, follow the show in your podcast app and share it with one builder you know. And if you've got questions or topics you want covered, connect with me on LinkedIn and send them over. See you in the next briefing.